So now we can get to our main topic.
Yeah, it only took us half an hour to get there.
And there were some very important points there. So, myself and Josh, speaking of Nintendo and stuff like that, because the original Nintendo did come out in 1985. We are the products of the 80s. And myself and Josh were thinking of just things that we could think of that would bring us back to our childhood and bring us back to remember the good days of old before social media, before YouTube, before streaming services and stuff like that. And like the biggest component of everybody that has lived back in the 80s and the 90s remembers most is Saturday morning cartoons. If you weren't born during that time and you're like, what the heck is Saturday morning cartoons? Think about Nickelodeon or like Cartoon Network. Only coming on during Saturdays, starting at like 7 a.m. to about noon. That is Saturday morning cartoons because that's all we had.
Yeah, it was like an 8 hour. It was like a 4 or 5 hour block
of just shows after shows after shows. Like growing up, the only places that we could watch like cartoons all day was, well, not even all day, but not all night, because Nickelodeon had Nick at Night.
Yeah, on Saturdays they would do Nickelodeon would do they would do like the Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh yeah, like the teen shows.
Yeah, like they kind of on Saturdays they would deviate, but you're right. Like normally it'd be like 8 or 9 o'clock would hit, and then it'd be Nick at Night.
Yeah,
it would be.
I was thinking it was 7. Like
it might have been 7.
And if you don't know what Nick at Night is, Nick at Night was like old timey, like old shows, like from the 70s and 80s, like Taxi.
I was gonna go more like even 50s and 60s because I remember them being.
Yeah, Honeymooners was on there.
Yeah, they went really. Some of them were really old. It just depended on what day.
Yeah, that's true. So myself and Josh we're gonna be looking at the top cartoons from the 80s, just the 80s. So like the 90s, we'll probably cover that later on, because that's when we're gonna be fighting up against, like, you know, what they had on CBS. Like Disney had their block, because I think that's when they purchased ABC, right?
Maybe. I know the late 90s, everybody's tried to do their own thing, because that's kind of the advent of like Cartoon Network.
Yeah,
Disney started doing their own thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Disney always did their own thing, because I remember watching like the Disney Channel, and they had like, you know, Adventures of Winnie the Pooh and a bunch of other stuff.
But I think like having something where it was
like a main channel.
Yeah, like a main kids show where it was, you know, like a hero type thing, like Cartoon Network. I mean, I think in the late 90s they had the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, Powerpuff Girls, Johnny Bravo, all that.
Yeah, so like I'm thinking those type of shows, not just like your Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah,
I mean they definitely had Tailspin in the early 90s and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that's still earliest, because that was still like part of like the Disney block that they had on ABC. Like they had like Darkwing Duck and all that stuff. But we're gonna be mainly focusing on 80s. Now we're gonna look at these top 10s or 20s or top cartoons, and we're gonna overall see what they kind of did here and make our critique on how they like how well they actually did, quite honestly, because like there's some gray areas kind of a thing. So
because sometimes what might be popular isn't necessarily
good.
And then what's not popular is not necessarily not good, and it might be good.
True. So we got this list right here. It's the top 20 cartoons from the 80s from celebrity9.com. So they're already starting off like understandable. I mean, they're not, this is just the start of it. So we're going to look at, let's see. I mean, they have Gem and the Holograms and DuckTales already. Mm-hmm. So let's take a nostalgic look back at the 20 of the best. So this is by them. Number 20.
I forgot that was an 80s show. I do remember watching it.
Oh yeah, Inspector Gadget, like that was definitely one that I watched as a kid. Like it still has one of the most iconic intro songs ever. For cartoon or otherwise.
Worst live action adaptation.
What?
There's 2 live action movies from that
I know. I know. It had what's his face from Ferris Bueller, and then it had the other guy from Third Rock from the Sun that doesn't have any eyes.
Oh, he's always squinting.
Yeah. But granted, I don't know if I would put Inspector Gadget at number 20 because like it's more iconic than that. So let's see what number 19 is.
Gem and the Holograms.
Gem and the Holograms. I would say because it is a girls show.
I mean, I didn't know about it until like maybe 2014 or something like that when my wife found it on Netflix and we watched maybe the first season.
Mm-hmm.
But then it definitely was like one of those where there's like one episode where they kept repeating like the same line for the song that they were trying to perform, and then like stuff would happen. And it just kept going on and on, and I'm just like, I kind of want to hear the rest of the song.
Well, I mean, that's just how it was back then. They just reused a lot of different things, and it's just like, oh, here's a show. But if you don't know what Gem and the Holograms is, don't go watch the movie that they made a couple years ago, because that has nothing to do with Gem and the Holograms from the 80s.
Another horrible live action remake.
Exactly. But if you want to think of just a modern thing, like they even have it down here, think of Hannah Montana. Because so basically
it's Hannah Montana minus the synergy. That's the name of the entity or whatever that Jem summons to turn into Jem, and between Jem and Jerrica.
Yeah, which the 80s were all about, somebody turning into something else through, a different avenue, which we'll probably get to the other person that definitely does that later on in this list. So let's see, what's number 18? Gummy Bears.
Gummy Bears. I do remember this show.
Good old Disney property. And again, another great freaking intro song. Gummy Bears.
Don't sing anymore. We don't want to get hit with the YouTube copyright.
True. Disney will bring the hammer and not MC Hammer.
Yeah, I forgot that this was an 80s show. What was the date?
85 to 91.
Okay.
Which I would definitely put that in the 80s block.
Well, yeah, like if it starts in the 80s, like I would say if it's like 89, I would still count it.
I wouldn't count 80. I wouldn't count 89 because that's very much because unless it was, that's where it got its popularity. Like if their popularity started getting better in the 90s, then I would constitute it more as a 90s.
Yeah.
That's how
fair.
I would rate it. I don't know how you would rate it.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. But this started the whole, whole Disney block, after that they had some compelling storytelling, and and it was entertaining. I mean, it was more, yes, it had a little bit of goofiness, but a lot of the Disney stuff had somewhat of a serious tone, kind of like what they did with their live action stuff, like, the TGI Fridays and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely Gummy Bears is a banger. Banana Man. I don't know this one.
I don't either. It looks horrible. Or at least weird.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Why it's awesome. When Eric Wimp eats a banana, he's transformed to Banana Man, a powerful superhero with appropriate superpowers. Sometimes it's the stupidest shows that are the most fun. Wait, we're gonna...
Does he overripe when it's time to not use his powers anymore?
Let's look at Banana Man. Let's take a quick second. Banana Man meets Dr. Gloom.
Well, one of the problems is that whole thing is it just looks like one word, Banana Man.
Yeah. Is this a British show?
Yeah, this looks like a British show.
Because they... let's see. Okay. Weakness. Immense stupidity. That is his weakness. It's immense stupidity.
Not being left out and getting eaten by fruit flies.
Oh, let's see.
So weird.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's gotta be around that block, man. I don't know. It does look something foreign. But yeah, that just looks a bit weird for me. So yeah. I don't think Banana Man is on our list. All right, number 16. I do remember this show, Count Duckula.
I vaguely remember it. The character on the right looks familiar.
Yeah. So Count Duckula wasn't your average vampire. He was comedic, wacky. He was vegetarian, which technically vampires are. What? Does human blood count as? Well, let's see the definition of a vegetarian. They don't eat meat, right?
Yeah, but they got to bite into the neck to actually get it.
True, but they don't devour the flesh. So is it?
I guess.
Yeah.
You've been nitpicky there.
Yeah, but it again, one of those wacky things. I think it was around the same lines as Howard the Duck and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
It's a weird obsession with ducks in the 80s.
Yeah. See, now this... The pup named Scooby-Doo. I did remember watching this show. I actually preferred this over the original Scooby-Doos. I know sacrilegious to the Scooby-Doo community and stuff like that, but honestly, I don't really care for Scooby-Doo.
Is there a Scooby-Doo popular, groupies?
Oh, I bet you there are. There's groupies for everything. But you have the purists from the 70s that are oh yeah, original Scooby-Doo. I'm like, like, I think me personally, Scooby-Doo itself is overrated. Honestly, I think Scooby-Doo kind of just needs to stop.
Although you have to be fair, they did a good casting choice for the live action one. That actually was one of those live action ones where I think the characters of Shaggy and Scooby was pretty well. At least Shaggy was pretty well cast.
I agree, but I never watched it. I just remembered the trailers. But yeah,
I didn't either.
But like, yeah, I was never the biggest fan of Scooby-Doo. Maybe when I first saw it, like, oh, that's fun. But then, like, I remember Cartoon Network would just, because that was one of its main shows, and they would just play it over and over again. And I just like, it's pretty much it's the same premise every single episode. And I just kind of was like, eh. But like, at least A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, they do change aspects of it where they're the kids kind of a thing, and it's a little bit more wackier than the old, the old original Scooby-Doo. But again, I would probably put this more as a 90s one versus an 80s, because I know it ran from 88 to 91, but I'm pretty sure that it's like it gained more popularity like in the 90s.
It looks a little bit more 90s-ish just from that picture.
Yeah, exactly.
Looks a little bit more cleaned up.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, let's see. One of the granddaddies. Oh man, I love this show. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Yeah, I watched this one a lot.
Oh yeah, I still watch this one. My youngest daughter, she's been obsessed with Chip and Dale because Disney Plus has its like a new series on it. It's a bit it's a little bit crazy kind of a thing, but because of that, she found Rescue Rangers and she's been watching Rescue Rangers, and I was like, proud dad moment. But yeah, this is definitely up there for me.
Yeah, I tried watching this maybe like the first episode, and my oldest wasn't too sure about it. Like once it got to like the more like scarier parts, he wasn't really into it.
Gotcha.
Maybe as he gets a year older,
yeah,
a little bit more. He's been sitting through some movies too, so it's like he's watched the Paw Patrol movie, Big Hero 6.
Mm-hmm.
He's the Peanuts movie. What other movie did he recently watch? I'm drawing a blank, but there was like one other movie that he watched where I was like very surprised. So he might be able to watch it now.
Yeah, but this show was you had to give it up for Disney, because Disney took they went through basically all of their whole roster of like classic animation. Or classic animation from like just the staples like Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald, Daisy, Goofy, and Chip and Dale. And they're like, what can we do to make this stuff interesting? And like, I love the whole, Rescue Rangers with, they're on missions and stuff like that, trying to save different things. And it was just really well done. It's like you still had a little bit of the zaniness between Chip and Dale and what they got into. But, I mean, overall, still great. And they came out with 2 bangers of games. Like for the Nintendo system, the Chip and Dale 1 and 2. And those are pretty much like highly regarded as probably one of the top, I would say, within the top 25 Nintendo games of all time, because it was developed by Capcom.
Well, that too, and then like this show and like several others, it's like they crossed them over.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the thing. They didn't just like relegate it to like they're on their own. They crossed those things over.
That's where they got the idea for Marvel. Oh my goodness. Brainwaves. So this was original Marvel. This is Thanos. And that's Iron Man. But again, I would rate this one way higher.
Yeah.
Not number 14, but let's continue looking. The Snorks.
Didn't watch this.
I never really got into the Snorks. I know they have, it's like, it was, yeah, the way that they describe it, it's the underwater version of the Smurfs. That's basically it. They saw the Smurfs, they got popular, and they're like, let's make the Snorks. Hopefully they'll get more, get the same revenue. So I have no ties with the Snorks.
No.
He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
This needs to be higher.
Way higher. This is when people think of 80s cartoons, this is basically
one of them,
like the main one. And like, yeah, I don't know why. And this was just straight 80s, 1983 to 85. Which is crazy that it only had the 2 years, but they did have the other spin-off show, but I don't know. We'll see if that pops up.
Well, in the syndications, they do like 60 episodes. So
that is true.
In 2 years, you can crank out like 100 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, He-Man definitely should be up there. Which we should talk about the new one.
Let's save that one for another podcast.
No, I want to call this out. I want to call this out because we are doing the 80s. And like there have been other iterations of He-Man. Like they had the live action movie. They had, what was it? Like early 2000s He-Man?
Yeah, which everybody like dumped on when it came out. Now everybody's starting to give it respect.
Yeah, praise for it. And then we have the Netflix version of He-Man.
Well, there's two. There's the like 3D animation, and then there's the animated one.
We're talking about the animated one.
Yeah.
Directed by Mr. Kevin Smith.
I haven't watched an episode of it yet. I probably don't plan to.
I watched a few because I wanted to see if it actually, went further in kind of a thing. But okay, my question is why Kevin Smith? Why did they choose Kevin Smith? Which, I mean, honestly, like, great guy, everything like that. Like, I like a lot of his movies and stuff like that, but his personality and everything like that, especially recently, ever since like a little bit before his heart attack, and then like now, he's just like flipped 180, and like it's like you're choosing somebody that's like almost like a beta male directing an alpha male show, and it does show because they basically say, oh, He-Man, yes, he's good, but then we're gonna go focus on Teela.
Well, he's kind of become this person that he's like the guy that you need like, you have a good product, but you need, if you're going to appease the nerds, we need somebody that like they recognize, and like he's a very recognizable face because he's been kind of in that nerd community for so long.
Exactly.
However, at this point, it's like because the whole thing stems from his controversy with another YouTube channel where another like YouTube channel where they came out and basically said like he is promoting it as a He-Man show, but he was never a fan growing up as a kid or as a person watching the show when it was out, and that the show was primarily going to focus on Tila, and then he came out and then said and blasted that group of people, that channel, and said like, no, the show's about He-Man. And then it came out, and then people were like, no, it really is about Tila.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, then to make matters worse, he came out and then just said like, well, Netflix doesn't care what you guys think.
Exactly. And then
so he kind of he made it worse. He made it bad, then he made it worse, and then he made it worse again.
It's basically his Southwest argument. Yeah. Or his John Lovitz argument. Or his crap. Die Hard.
Oh, the Bruce Willis thing?
Yeah, his Bruce Willis argument. It's like that's just his personality. Like, if you listen to his podcast and stuff like that, you very much find out that he's very much like, outside of his directing world, he's not the head of his household at all. It's his wife. Very much so. He'll straight up say, my wife controls everything. And I feel like the way that he made this He-Man is very much reminiscent of how his life is. I believe that his wife came up to him and is like, we need more female roles, and we need more female focus. That's why they focus on Tila. That's my just opinion. It's like, again, you have freaking He-Man. His name means pretty much alpha. And then man. And you turn him to beta, and it's just like, no. Wow, my camera flipped. That was awesome. But I just taking something from iconic from the 80s and then totally flipping the script. I don't like it. And you see a lot, especially in 90s shows and stuff like that. They're coming back out with different things. They've been doing it a lot lately, and we'll get into that much later, probably in the 90s episodes. But He-Man definitely needs to go up. The new one needs to go down. But let's see. Danger Mouse.
Maybe remember Danger Mouse.
I remember watching a few episodes. I mean, it is iconic, but I wouldn't say it's number 11. I would say it's more. I would even put it under the 20s.
Yeah.
So, good old Danger Mouse. The Trap Door.
I have no idea what this is.
Ran for 2 years from 84 to 86. I have no clue on this.
What? That's claymation.
Yeah. It looks like, it looks like a Lovecraftian thing.
Like Gumby.
Yeah.
Like somewhere Gumby and Pokey is hiding out somewhere because they're so scared.
Yeah. I don't know if it would be in the 10. I would probably put it
how is this higher than He-Man?
Yeah, exactly.
Or even Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Yeah, how is it? Kind of a thing. Freaking Babar is number 9.
How is this compiled?
I don't know. And it's, again, this is more of a 90s 90s thing. 89 to 91. I would say I would label that 90s, and Babar is freaking boring. Freaking boring. It came on, I was like, nope.
That's how I feel about Peppa Pig.
Yeah. But we're adults. But Babar was freaking boring. I hated Babar. I know they're elephants and stuff like that, but no. All right, let's see. Number 8. Thundercat.
Oh, Thundercats, yeah.
Would I say? Would I
They-
put? Would I put it? I believe it's. I would put it higher, but freaking Babar beat out He-Man and Chippendale. Man, at least it didn't beat out Thundercats. But
Yeah.
Thundercats is definitely iconic, and it does have another great intro. Same
Yeah.
with He-Man. He-Man had a great intro.
And they rebooted this one too.
Yeah.
I think in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Or no, in the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Yeah. And that wasn't a bad one. But yeah, Thundercats, I would say higher.
What is this?
I don't know. It's a short-lived series from 82 to 83. It follows Esteban. And they're looking for the City of Gold. Animated in Japan, written in France. We may have gotten it. We may have gotten it. But yeah. This must be like a world kind of a thing. Let's see. Freaking Care Bears? I know Care Bears was popular and stuff like that, but better than E-Man? This list is pissing me off.
I mean, it's in there. I mean, I'm kind of curious as now because what number are we on?
We're at number 6.
Okay. I mean, the only ones I can think of so far that I haven't seen are Ghostbusters, Rainbow Bright,
Mm-hmm.
Transformers,
Mm-hmm.
G.I. Joe,
G.I. Joe,
DuckTales,
TMNT.
TMNT, yeah.
All right.
And let's see.
Like I remember.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Those are 4 right there. So if those 4 aren't in the next like 5, let's go. Let's see where we're going.
Okay. I mean, Care Bears was iconic. They made buku dollars. I mean, it wasn't really for me. Super Ted, as in Teddy Ruxpin.
What the heck? What? That just looks like a teddy bear version of Shazam.
Pretty much. And this beat out He-Man. This beat out Thundercat. Number 4, Transformers.
Okay, Transformers, okay.
Okay, we're getting back with Transformers. Classic. I would definitely.
At least it's in the
have that
top
over.
5.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it was huge because of the toys
Movie.
and the movie, yes, but mainly was the toys.
Yeah.
The toys fueled the cartoon show. Cartoon show fueled the sales of toys, which that's what 80s cartoons was all about.
Yeah, it was all about them toys.
So, number 4 was Transformers. Number 3,
Smurfs.
I wouldn't say number 3. I would say it would be. I would say it was in the top 20. Granted,
Yeah.
but like between like maybe 10th overall or something like that, because like Smurfs was definitely popular. Everybody had Smurf. It was one of the shows that everybody watched, and it was kooky enough that it did warrant an audience.
Yeah.
And I mean, it ran from 1981 to 1989, so
Yeah, so clearly they were doing something right.
yeah. Smurf and Smurfette.
Yeah.
Number 2 is TMNT.
Okay.
Now,
I'm not gonna argue. I would say at least top 5.
yeah, this is the thing. Like, I would you put it in 80s or would you put it in the 90s?
Well, when did the movie come out? 90?
90s. It would have been like 91 was the movie. And like all the other stuff, like, the live, like the movies, the like all the movies were in the 90s.
Yeah, it was like a 90-91 movie. So
Yeah.
it was like right at the turn.
Yeah, and then like they're mate, you made it big when you have like your road show. Turtles coming out of their shells.
Yeah.
And that's why actually when they were on Oprah was in the 90s. So I would label TMNT as more 90s versus 80s. But I mean, it was definitely popular in the 80s. But I would say, because you had only 3 years in the 80s and you had 6 years in the 90s. So
yeah, it's kind of like saying The Simpsons were technically started in the 80s, but they didn't gain their popularity until the 90s. The 90s was really when they really, really picked up.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see what number 1 is. If it's some random crap.
Well, they haven't mentioned G.I. Joe or Ghostbusters, so it's one of those two.
Well, we'll see. We had freaking, what was it? We had freaking Banana Man on this list. We had Super Ted in the top 5.
All right, let's see what's number 1.
Number 1 is a bunch of ads for 9 Now. Number 1, DuckTales.
Okay, so G.I. Joe and Ghostbusters was off this list.
Apparently. But I would say definitely DuckTales is in the top 3. I would have to say.
I wouldn't argue that.
Yeah, DuckTales was definitely, that's what set, even though like Rescue Rangers would, help supply it, but DuckTales was like the first one that actually gave Disney notoriety.
Yeah, 87 to 90.
Yeah, and I mean, this was the quintessential classic show. Also had 2 great Nintendo games, also from Capcom. The movie was great. Like, yeah, again, this is what put Disney on the map for adventure base. Because before that, like, you had just like Johnny Quest and like those kind of adventures, and it was just like, this you could be goofy, but at the same time, like, have a good adventure. So that's from whoever this crazy person is that put random junk in there.
It's really disappointing that Ghostbusters and G.I. Joe was on there. I mean, wasn't Sonic also an 80s cartoon?
No, 90s.
That was the 90s? Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to switch gears and we're going to go to 15 best kids cartoons from the 80s ranked according to IMDb. Now they switched it up. They did TMNT and DuckTales for this one. The other one was Gem and the Holograms. All right, let's see. Number 15, Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Now, the 80s version, I didn't really watch it.
I didn't watch it.
I watched more of the 90s one.
No, I think the best one to go watch is the Japanese version in the 70s.
Oh, the Supaida Man?
Yeah, when he's got like a flying robot, a flying car.
Yep, good old Supaida Man.
Yeah, and does like a bunch of weird random stuff, like
there's Supaida Man.
There was that one, and then at the same time there was like some weird contract where it ended up being like them and the American version. So at the same time you had this going on, there was the American version as well,
with his mech. Good old Supaida Man. But yeah.
Okay.
So number 15 apparently got a 7.0 on IMDb. All right, number 14.
Smurfs.
Okay, now we're getting correct. We're like definitely Smurfs is lower than a lot of the other stuff, but again, iconic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. Number 13.
Oh yeah, Garfield.
Garfield and Friends. Now, this is another one that should be in the 90s, not in the 80s, because it only had 2 years.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I'm not. I won't argue that. But it does, like, if you're gonna, I guess it would be one of those that would land in more of like a bridge between the 80s and 90s, because the animation style was still very 80s, early, like the early 90s still had a lot of the 80s animation style, and then kind of in the mid to late 90s it switched. So,
but yeah, I would say, yeah, I mean, I remember Garfield and Friends.
yeah.
That was a classic. Gem and Holograms going with round up number 12.
Which that's fine. Like it at least, that should be at least in the top 20s.
True, but I don't know if it would be better than Smurfs.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. Number 11. Dang, another low for He-Man. Another low. Now, I mean, they must be going back and watching like the show from a perspective of an adult. Like He-Man as an adult, it's not boring, but I mean, the animation is like a lot of it's recycled and stuff that.
It's very dated.
Yeah, it's very dated. But I mean, that mess was freaking popular. Like it made it into Ghostbusters 2. When they go do the birthday party.
Yeah.
What do we want? He-Man!
Yeah. And that was 4 years later.
Yeah.
Like, Ghostbusters 2 is 89.
Yeah. So there's that.
Oh, yeah, Voltron.
Voltron.
I totally forgot about that, yeah.
Voltron was definitely popular.
I forgot about that.
I would keep it probably in the top 10.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. The reboot's not bad, although I didn't like how they ended it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I wonder if Gundam's gonna be in there too, because that's another 80s one.
But like Voltron actually made it to America.
Well, Voltron, and Voltron was one of those again. It was like the toys.
Yeah.
It was like Transformers. Like it was popular because of the toys.
Yeah, exactly. Like I wouldn't put like Gundam there because Gundam didn't become huge until like way later. Let's see. Number 9 is Thundercats. Okay. I would say it would probably be more up there. Number 8.
Bugs Bunny and Tweety Show.
Now I remember Bugs Bunny. Yeah. That whole crew, but I don't know. I wouldn't say Bugs Bunny and Tweety Show. I would say, but you could say that like about all the Disney stuff too. I wouldn't put this up in 80s shows. I would say, nostalgia, like, classic. Yeah, I would say for many generations, yeah. But I wouldn't say put it in this list.
But also, if you read the thing, it says it's an anthology thing. Like, yeah, anthologies don't count.
Yeah,
because that just means that you're just pulling from like 60s.
Yeah, 60s, 70s. You get everything.
Yeah.
Freaking the 50s.
Yeah, that shouldn't be on there. I don't know why that's.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. TMNT went to number 7.
To be fair, though, that like you said, it is still in it. They kind of went longer into the 90s.
True, but they're rating it by how much it's rated on 7.9. Wait, how much was? Yeah, all these were 7.9. That got a 7.5. Gem got 7.4. Remember, it's by ratings that people put it as. Whatever. Again, that would probably, if I wasn't classifying as 90s, that would definitely be up higher.
Yeah. Well, and I'm pretty sure, like with TMNT, like in the later years, you had. I mean, the first movie was popular because it was just,
It was
had
gritty.
it was gritty, but it had charm.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those where it's like it was silly and goofy, but it had charm. And
Yeah.
then in the second one, they just like completely went,
But
bonkers.
like most
did.
people will say that their more favorite one is the second movie.
Well, the second one even goes more bonkers and a little bit more goofy.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the third one, the third movie, which is around the 95, 96 time when this show was on the wane.
Yeah, and they lost.
Where they lost like a ton of budget. Like if you watch the third movie compared to the first movie,
Mm-hmm.
the budget is like completely different.
And they lost reality.
Yeah.
But yeah, number 6 they put Transformers. Nah.
I'd like to go back and watch the movie because the movie was different.
Yeah. Let's see, number 5. What the heck?
The Wind and the Willows.
The Wind and the Willows. Definitely, yeah. British.
Motion.
I'm guessing it was probably good. I never watched it, and it looks like it's just was Britain owned. Good on you guys.
I never watched it.
Yep.
Somebody in Britain's just like,
damn you guys, that was a classic.
No, they're making burner accounts and just like jacking the ratings up on it.
Yeah. One guy.
Yeah.
Oh, number 4. Oh, they
DuckTales.
dropped down DuckTales for this one.
Well, and the thing too is that was the other thing with DuckTales, going back to the crossover thing, because Launchpad, like I think he ended up in Tailspin or Rescue Rangers.
No, he didn't do Rescue Rangers.
Where did he show up in? It was Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, he went Darkwing.
Duck.
Yeah, he went
It was
Darkwing. Yeah. But let's see, number 3. Another just anthology. Those should not be there.
Yeah, those shouldn't be there. Those shouldn't count.
Okay. Number 2, Dragon Ball.
I'm not surprised that it's on there, but I'm surprised that that didn't pop up on the other list, considering that it had a bunch of rando shows on there.
That is true, but Dragon Ball didn't start coming out to the States or start getting popular as the 90s and early 2000s.
And it was the second iteration. It wasn't the
it was
first
Dragon Ball
iteration.
Z. I don't agree with this. If it was we're talking about American, I'm gonna go, sit downstairs, watch shows. This was not on there.
Well, it wasn't played often. That was the thing.
Yeah, that was true. But I mean, it's a classic. I mean, as a as high schooler and adult, I've gone through and watched mostly all the Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and all the whole saga, and I mean, it is beloved. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't agree that it. Yes, it was created in the 80s, but we weren't shown it in the 80s.
Right. Well, it was this show and what was it, Sailor Moon? Those two shows, they didn't pop up until the mid 90s.
Yeah, and they were both around that same time frame.
And it was very rare, a hit or miss. You either caught it or you didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's crazy. What do you think number? I don't even know what number.
I still haven't seen G.I. Joe on this list, on either list. So.
True. All right, let's see. What's number 1? This is not a freaking kid show.
See what I mean? This is it came out in '89, but
this is not a kid's show. Look. Best kids cartoons. That is not a kid's cartoon.
I don't know what else to say because
IMDb, IMDb, you are wronging us. The Simpsons is not a kid's show. Again, not even the 80s. It was made in 89 with freaking the Tracy Ullman show. Is The Simpsons a classic? Yes. Should it stop? Yes.
It needed to stop a long time ago.
Yeah. But is it a kid's show? No. No. It's not a kid's show. Sorry. Sorry. All right. So that was IMDb's. Now let's go through this one. So this last one. It's going through Ranker, which they'll have a lot. So Ranker is very much fans do vote on this. They put up their favorite shows and then people vote on them, kind of thing. So this is going to be more of a representation of what was from the 80s, kind of a thing. Hopefully. But I don't know.
Again, I haven't seen. I mean, the two that have surprised me so far, and I've kept saying it, is G.I. Joe and the Real Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Because the Real Ghostbusters, you had that movie in the 80s, and then, or in 84, and then in 86, I believe, is when the show came out.
Yeah.
And it ran all the way, I believe, to like 92.
Yeah.
So.
But what about the Ghostbusters? What about that show with the monkey?
That's why they actually had to put the real the real tagline on.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They could distinguish.
Like, come on.
All right, let's take a look at this last list. Let's see what they got.
Hold on. Come on. Filmation Ghostbusters. That's the Ghostbusters, right? I mean, look at the monkey. He's so happy. He's so happy. And Ghostbusters had, two females in it, right?
Well, and the thing with that is they changed it because I believe the original title had a hyphen.
Yeah.
It was Ghost hyphen then Busters, and that was like the issue that Dan Aykroyd had with the movie, is that he couldn't use the same title, but he's like, well, they have a hyphen, we don't. So.
All right, so unforgettable 80s cartoons. Let's go through this. Number 1, TMNT. Okay. Again.
Not gonna argue with that.
Yeah, but see, I know, number 2. Finally.
Now that one's a little bit higher. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, He-Man. Again, this is people ranking it. Number 3, Transformers. I would agree with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, Thundercats. Again, all the bangers that you remember from the 80s. One right after the other. All right, number 5, DuckTales.
Okay, it's top 5 I'm at least okay with.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much TMNT, but top 5 so far.
Yeah. Number 6, Inspector Gadget.
Okay.
You gotta remember, Inspector Gadget was huge.
Yeah. They did have a toy line.
There you go.
G.I. Joe.
Number 7, G.I. Joe.
There we go.
Go Joe.
Finally.
Number 8, Smurfs, because I can agree with that. Number 9, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Again, can agree with that. Number 10.
No, compilation shows shouldn't be on there.
Yeah, I agree with that. Wait. Okay, unforgettable 80s cartoons. They're not going with all of if it has cartoons. It's not kids cartoons.
Okay.
So okay, I can understand Simpsons now. There's number 12, Real Ghostbusters.
There we go. Garfield
and Friends. Again, I would think that would be more 90s.
Really, the two you would knock off is Garfield and Friends, The Simpsons. Well, 3, The Simpsons, and then TMNT.
Yeah. Voltron. We forgot about Alvin and the Chipmunks. That mess was huge.
Was that in 80s?
What? No, that was more 90s. Well, no, they had two different ones. They had like where it was just Alvin and the Chipmunks, and then they had the 90s one where they introduced like all the
Chipettes.
Yeah, the Chipettes. Okay, I would make that more 90s. Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Spider-Man.
Which, I mean, yeah, it was good and it introduced a lot of different characters to people, but overall, it's not that great of a show. Gummy Bears. The Super Friends.
Oh, yeah, wasn't the Super Friends starting in the 70s?
Yeah, it's 73.
Yeah, it's a Hanna-Barbera show.
Yeah.
Muppet Babies.
Yeah, Muppet Babies was huge.
Yeah, I do remember that now.
I remember watching that. Care Bears. They share. Oh, look it. Finally, She-Ra.
Oh, finally, She-Ra's on there.
She-Ra. Dungeons and Dragons. Now, this one, I remember the mess out of this.
Heathcliff
and the Cadillac Cats. Heck yeah. That was a show and a half. I'm not gonna lie. That was one of my favorites. And then I don't remember the original Heathcliff. Mask.
Don't remember that.
I do remember Mask, but I mean it was one of those adventure ones. The Snorks. Beetlejuice was more 90s.
90s.
Yeah.
It lasted longer into the 90s.
Yeah. But Beetlejuice is probably one of my favorites in the 90s. Scooby-Doo, Scrappy-Doo. Silverhawks. That had an epic intro. But yeah, I would say number 29. Dennis the Menace, number 30. I remember Pound Puppies.
I vaguely remember that.
I remember the toys. The toys was a big thing because it was kind of like Cabbage Patch Dolls. Like all of them were like different kind of a thing. Then you got hey.
But that's another 70s one, right?
Yeah. During his infidelities. Hey, there's Rainbow Bright.
Rainbow Bright, that was the other one.
Again, that would be more 90s.
Super Mario. No, that show didn't last that long.
That did not. But I mean,
that I think lasted like maybe what, like a
year or two. But honestly, if they didn't have the goofy live action part, the show itself was actually good. Like the actual cartoon and animation and stuff like that, I think was good.
Yeah, the live action part was.
Yeah, it definitely needed. But it beat out Gem. New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. But again, I would classify that more as 90s and 80s. Thundar the Barbarian. Another He-Man clone.
Yeah.
Danger Mouse. The Incredible Hulk. That show was boring as hell. Littles. Flintstone Kids. I do remember this show.
I don't.
Again, it was like all Hanna-Barbera stuff. They decided, hey, let's just make them kids.
Never saw that one.
Then you got Brave Star, the Native American He-Man. No, there's more than that.
With 2 R's.
Yeah. Count Duckula. There's Johnny Quest. Dang, they put Dragon Ball Z, 89. Oh, My Little Pony.
Yeah, I never watched My Little Pony.
Good old Robotech. The first anime to be brought over to the States. Don't know the raccoons. Don't know the Centurions. Alf. Defenders of Earth. I remember the comics, but I don't remember the show. The Wuzzles. Oh my goodness. I remember the Wuzzles.
I don't.
They were animals and bugs mixed. the lion, like the main person. I forget the name of the main person, but it was a lion and a bumblebee. I remember that. Oh, that show was boring too.
Wait, hold on.
What?
I remember this show. Okay, this show, I was like it would pop in my head like periodically. I'd be like, what the hell is the name of that show?
The World of David the Gnome.
Yeah, okay.
That mess was boring too. I'm sorry that David the Gnome was, probably in your top 10, but that mess was boring.
No, because I just remember just the ending, and that was it.
Yeah.
I just remember the ending of the show, and that was it. And it stuck in my head. It's that one weird thing, because I remember it was a gnome, and I was just like, it's like a gnome show. That's like the only thing I remember.
Then I think we're getting into the random shows like Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling.
Right. Do you know what show isn't on here that I just realized now? Speaking of because of the gnome show.
Yeah.
Is Shining Time Station. Although that's not animated.
Yeah.
It's not an animated show. It's 80's, but it's not animated.
GoBots.
Don't remember that.
Mr. T. I remember that show. Well, excuse me, princess.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Freaking Legend of Zelda. And look at this banger right below it. The Ewoks. And then the Pac-Man show. I don't remember Denver the Last Dinosaur.
No.
Dino Riders. I remember that. The Popples. Don't remember that. Visionaries. Shirt Tails.
And how much
Dino Saucers. Rambo.
I kind of vaguely remember that.
There's Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin. Good old Captain N, the Game Master, but I would say that was more 90s. Then there's Beverly Hills Teens. Look, these freaking people put Super Ted at number 71 where he freaking belongs. Number 5, my butt. Super Ted, number 71. You stay down there. Oh my goodness.
He's like, hey, can I come back to my number 5 spot?
No, you stay there. Camp Candy with John Candy.
Oh, there you go. The Mysterious City of Gold, number 73.
Yeah. And what was that? Wasn't that like number 3 or no? That was like number 7 or something.
Number 8.
Number 8. There we go. 70. Bionic 6, Galaxy Rangers, Ulysses 31. Now, they actually have something else that's not a cartoon. Saturday Supercade, because that was actually a game show, and you can actually still watch Saturday Supercade on Twitch. They one of the channels that I watch. Hold on, let me see if I can't look that up real quick. I think it's Shout Factory TV will actually run some of the Saturday Supercade shows still. It's either that or I'm looking at Con TV, CON TV. They'll play the Saturday Supercade because they'll put up some random stuff up there, which is pretty good. The Inhumanoids, Turbo Teen, Mighty Orbots, yeah. So 82, and they got all the way down to Spiral Zone. Now, granted, they didn't really do much of anything else, but yeah, those are pretty much their lists. Don't really agree. Like, I would say probably the best one is Ranker.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if I had to formulate just off of like just going through that list and kind of getting a refresher, my list in no particular order. I'm just like running the shows and just like and what I would probably watch.
Mm-hmm.
So my list isn't like I'll run them off, but then it's not like necessarily like that's my 1 to 10.
Okay.
It's just like these are the. Mine is just going to be like the 10 that of those ones that would be like those would be ones that I'd pick up and watch. Although number one for me, I put Ghostbusters at number one just because that one is. I still go back and watch that show.
Mm-hmm.
I found them I think on Tubi, free.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, Transformers, G.I. Joe, He-Man, DuckTales, Inspector Gadget. I put Gem and the Holograms on there just because that'd be probably something I'd watch with my wife.
Gotcha.
Chippendale Rescue Rangers, Voltron, and then Thundercats. Those would be ones that, like, if I were watching it as a kid, like, I probably would put those on, or at least, like, find them at some point. Because Gummy Bears, I do remember, like, maybe watching some episodes. Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball I caught when I was kind of already a little bit older in the mid-90s.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same thing with Robotech.
Mm-hmm.
Like those three, like Robotech, Sailor Moon, and Dragon Ball, and to some extent Z as well. Like I caught those in the mid-90s when I was a little bit older.
Yeah.
So.
All right. What I would probably do, I'll go through 10 to 1 of one set. So my thinking is going to be what I would like. I go downstairs and this is what I'm going to be wishing for, kind of a thing. I'm in the mindset of I'm like, 5 years old, and this is what I'm going to sit down and hoping for to watch. So number 10, I'm going to do Robotech. Robotech, I thoroughly enjoyed, and just the way that everything just went through and the development of characters. And plus, I mean, the freaking machines went from, an actual
It's like a plane to
plane to battle mode, which is more of like the plane robot mix and then to a robot. And then later on the line, they had, the Macross saga and all that stuff, which that changes up the main characters and stuff like that. But, I mean, as of today, I still, watch Robotech, but definitely that would be one that I would watch. That would probably be number 10. Number 9 would definitely be Muppet Babies. Not going to lie, I watched the mess out of that thing when I was little. What I say now, would I watch it? I watched the new one with my kids, and it's weird, but it's not really reminiscent of the old Muppet Babies. But I definitely like more Muppet Babies back then. Was yes, they were kids, shows, but it had more of an adult theme kind of a thing. So yeah, so definitely number 9 Muppet Babies. Number 8 Heathcliff. Heathcliff was my jam back in the day. Number 7, Transformers. I got more in the Transformers. Yeah, more towards an adult, but definitely Transformers back in the day as well. Number 6.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people got into Transformers as an adult because of Michael Bay and putting Megan Fox in there.
Oh, true. Very true. Number 6 would be He-Man. And just because I know the nostalgia behind it and everything, and I mean, myself and my brother used to watch that all the time. That was probably my brother's favorite growing up. I would say my favorite growing up was TMNT, but I would still classify that as 90s. So you probably know the top of my list of my 90s list. But number 5, definitely Inspector Gadget. Love me some Inspector Gadget. Number 4 would be Real Ghostbusters. I remember watching it back then, and that was probably one of my go-tos. Number 3, Thundercats. I love Thundercats, especially the intro. And pretty much when stuff was coming out for DVD, that was definitely one that I picked up right away. My two Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, again, huge into that. That was one of my more defining cartoons. And then number 1, of course, DuckTales. DuckTales was the mecca. I still watch the mess out of that show. And even the reboot that they did is fairly decent. I know they just finished that off, I think in 2020, but they kind of expand on the universe. Like they bring in Huey, Dewey, and Louie's mom and all that other stuff. But the original is still good.
I watched a few episodes of that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's very reminiscent. Like there's a few things that have changed from the original to the new one. And I mean, it wasn't like catastrophic kind of a thing. Like a lot of the stuff from the 90s. But yeah, I mean, overall, we are a good product of the 80s.
I totally forgot about the Muppet Babies. I probably would swap Jim and the Holland.
Grams. That's what I was thinking.
Because I do remember watching Muppet Babies as a kid.
Yeah. But yeah, that's basically our list of what we deem as like the top 10. Like Josh and Josh, we like the similar things, but those were the popular things back in the day. And I don't know what these people were thinking about with that crap. I was just like, yikes.
That first ranking, that first list was definitely like odd. Like the choices, like some of the choices, it was like, okay, that made sense, but the Teddy Bear Shazam was like, what?
Yeah.
Why
Super
is this
Ted?
on here?
Yeah. Now, granted, it could probably have been like.
Well, and I'm also surprised like Rainbow Bright didn't show up on a couple other lists as well too. That was one of them too, where I was like, I'm surprised that one didn't show up.
Yeah.
That was another popular one too.
Yeah, Rainbow Bright definitely. I know Care Bears made it on there, but not Rainbow Bright. But, live and learn kind of a thing. But, well, I mean, that's pretty much our show. That was the main subject. The other two were kind of just, off the wall, off topics. Try to throw Josh a curveball kind of a thing and get him in trouble.
Yeah, because that wasn't on the show notes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's again, we're going to be throwing stuff out. Who cares? So, but thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And for So Do You Like Stuff, I'm Jeff Miller.
And I'm Josh Martinez.
Let's go, Brandon.